When I was in high school, bringing weapons to school was like considered a big no-no. Like, I'm gonna be honest, kids still ended up bringing weapons to school, but in my head, I straight up thought that they were just flat out dumb. Like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna bring a weapon to school, you might as well just sharpen your pencil and act like it's like the purge. Because like, I'm sorry, like what? Anyways, I remember one time in high school, I was just kind of walking around and I remember entering my social studies class. And in my social studies class, we got this new girl who came in and she was like from like some foreign country. And I remember I sat beside her and I was just introducing myself. You know, I'm being a nice guy because I was kind of outgoing. Like, I didn't look that bad. So I remember introducing myself, being a nice guy, all that cool stuff. And then, you know, I realized that her accent was like very heavy. Like, it was like the average Russian accent, like nothing like Arnold Schwarzenegger worth, but like it was pretty rough. And I was just being nice to her, you know, introducing myself, all that stuff. And she told me that her and her boyfriend came from like a foreign country whatsoever. And then as class went over, I remember walking down the hallway. And as I was walking down the hallway, I saw the same girl, but she was like with her boyfriend and she was like pointing me out. And her boyfriend was like, I'm gonna be honest, her boyfriend looked like a total dumbass. like I can't be mean, but like he did. Like, man couldn't pull his pants up. Honestly, like I want to give him a belt, but okay, I'm talking way too high and mighty for this. Okay, anyways, like I was saying though. So I remember he walked up to me and he literally just, you know, walked over, or waddled over, I should say. I'm sorry, I can make fun of this guy like 2 ways till Friday. And when he walked up to me, he was like, yo, you hitting on my girl? I should have looked at him. I was like, sorry. Like, he had the accent too, but he made sound effects with like his voice as he was talking. Like, I don't know if he was talking third person or something, or he, you know, he's like a beatboxer, but basically he said something like this: skitty beat bop, bop, you know what I'm saying, dog? Like, you trying to like be with my girl, you know what I'm saying? You hit my girl and stuff like that. You just bop, bop, bop. And in my head, I'm thinking like, wait, did this guy just speak English to me? Dude, I was dead confused because I'm gonna be honest, I only spoke normal English at the time. So I remember saying like, no, like I'm not hitting up your girl. Like, I'm not interested whatsoever. I just saw her in my class and she was new. I thought I should just say hi to her. And apparently that's like a big red flag for these guys that have like, you know, girlfriends. Because I guess no guy wants to feel like they're not enough, which is fair enough. I can't argue with that. Basically, he was like arguing and yelling with me in this most weirdest language. I can't even say it was English, guys. But basically, from what I heard him say, he wanted to fight me, and the way he described us fighting was the most weirdest way possible. He straight up told me, yo, I'm gonna pop your head off with my gun, you know what I'm saying? Go and go get you down, boy, you know what I'm saying? So don't even try hitting up my girl. I'm gonna scrap you right now after school. You know what? After school right now, we're gonna scrap. Me and you, we're gonna scrap, pull up AKs, you know what I'm saying? And me sitting there just thinking, what the heck did this guy just say? Literally just blew my mind. But at the same time though, yeah, no, basically he wanted to fight. So I remember I ended up walking away, and knowing I had a fight after school because of some foreign girl I just met kind of just blew my mind. Like, I remember walking up to my friends that I guess were kind of my friends at the time and saying how like this guy wanted to fight me. And apparently everyone knew him already because he apparently got caught carrying a knife to school. And the fact that I was just in a conversation with this guy, and the fact that he wanted to bring a gun and shoot an AK in my head to go pop kind of scared the life out of me. By the way, I do not condone any violence in the storyline. I should probably say that first. Anyways, yeah, so basically this guy wanted to fight me. He wanted to scrap me. I told my friends about it and he was caught with a knife earlier today. So that's already a red flag for me. Me knowing I'm probably gonna die in this situation, I was actually kind of worried. Like, you know that panic that you get in your chest when like something's about to go down? That was kind of me. But at the same time though, I did not want to be a wuss, and I wanted to actually, you know, man up, because, you know, I was at that stage where I needed to, I guess. So I remember I messaged my dad. Okay, that's kind of awkward to say, but I messaged my dad saying, hey, dad, this guy wants to fight me and he might kill me. Instantly when my dad saw he wanted to kill me in the text messages, he literally drove down to the school and he messaged me saying, yo, I'm here at the school. If you need me, I got you. So I already had my dad like kind of like, you know, just on standby, I guess. I don't know. I made this seem like a whole operation when it was literally just about a guy who can't pull up their pants. Like, I made this way too severe. So after school, I remember I straight up started walking towards the field because that's where he wanted to meet, I guess. And straight up, I remember seeing this guy with his girl and like 4 other guys just kind of standing there like as if they're in a V shape, kind of like birds do when they're flying away to like south for the winter. Boy, I wish these guys were flying south for the winter. And they straight up like kind of just walked up there, and me sitting there with like my backpack acting like, you know, I was like 7, and I'm like, so what's up? When I walked up there, and the guy should have walked up to me, he's like, yo, I'm gonna pop your head off. He literally pushed me on the ground and I fell. And you know, at that point I was like kind of worried. And then I remember this guy actually did end up pulling out his knife. That's right. So basically I was on the ground, the guy had a knife out, and then instantly, right as this guy had his knife out, cops were called apparently, and I heard sirens. Straight up, when I heard sirens, these guys, like all of them ran away except the one guy that was literally standing there with a knife. And I remember his girlfriend just yelling at him saying to like run away or something, as if, you know, they were like doing something illegal, which I guess he technically was. And I remember a cop pulled up. He literally parked his car, instantly ran out of the vehicle, and literally ran and tackled this guy to the ground. So me laying down on the ground, at that point, I was just kind of laying there looking up at the sky saying like, damn, this is a lot going on in one moment. Basically, he got knocked down, he got his handcuffs on, and he got straight to the vehicle. And the cop was asking me what the heck happened. Like, what did I do? Basically, he was thinking like I did something really bad. I remember just straight up telling him like I said hi to his girlfriend, and he didn't like that, so he pulled a knife on me. That's all I really said, because that's basically what happened. I couldn't like justify it anymore. And then my father came out of the vehicle. He saw what was going on, and he straight up, you know, just told the cop like how this guy, like basically, you know, doing his fatherly figure stuff, which thank you, Dad, by the way, for that. And yeah, that's basically it. After that, the kid never actually ended up showing up to school again. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's rotting in jail now. But moral of the story is, don't bring weapons to school. It's just not a smart thing. And before anyone says anything, like if you're one of those kids that are thinking, you know, gang life is everything, I'm sorry. I just cannot wait till the real world hits you, because it's gonna hit you hard. Okay, for some reason, and I will never understand this, I'm gonna be brutally damn honest, okay? I have no idea how this happened, but you guys blew up my video of my first fight. And to this day, I'll never understand why. Like, I love you guys for it. Like, seriously, it has over 1 million views on YouTube, and it's insane. This channel has been blowing up ever since. Like, we already have 2 plaques. We're going insane. We're going sicko mode with all these amazing videos, and I love you guys for it. But this story goes out to the people that wanted to see more fight stories, because apparently a lot of you guys were like, there's no way that was your first fight. Doesn't make any sense. You can't even fight in the story. And that is true. I didn't actually fight. I technically just got pushed on the ground and cops came. Sorry for everyone that I just spoiled the story for. If you guys still want to go check that out and go show support on it, go for it. Seriously, it's a good story. But other than that, let's get into this crazy new one. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story takes place back in high school. Back in high school, I am not gonna lie, like I said, I wasn't a fighter. But from, you know, my first fight compared to this fight that I'm about to tell you about, I want to say it was like a 1-year gap. So think of like the first fight story and then 1 year later. Because obviously, you know, my first fight story was like, I don't know, like my first year of high school. And this was like my second year. And this was when I was like, you know, more in the F-boy phase. So, you know, your boy's getting a little trouble. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had a lot of fights back in my day. I've done a lot of like, you know, fights back in high school and stuff. I wouldn't say I wasn't like, you know, winning all of them, and nor was I like the biggest fighter. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wasn't. But you know, encountering people in the type of F-boy way I was pretty easy. But going on, let's get straight into this. So back in high school, I remember there was a really cool chick that I actually was like generally just good friends with. As rare as it is, you know, me being friends with a chick, this chick was actually considerably like a really nice girl. She was nice to me. She was calm. She was relaxing. Like she, how do I put this? She had like no way of like, you know, showing me that she was attracted to me. But at the same time, that's probably because she had a boyfriend at the time. And I remember, you know, she'd always like talk to me, help me with homework and stuff. And, you know, we'd keep things actually really casual. You know, me and her, we never planned on doing anything. We never talked, you know, in any way as if, you know, we were attracted to each other at all, which was a good thing at first. But then I started realizing like over time, she would come into class really sad or really upset or just annoyed in general. And obviously me trying to be a good friend, I'm just straight up like, yo, like, is everything all right? Like, you okay? And she told me how like, you know, things were getting hard in her life and stuff like that. At first I thought it was like a family thing, so I kind of backed off, because I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to family, like unless you're really that close with a person, you shouldn't get involved. But then I started talking to her even more, and I kind of like not really pushed her, but in a way I kind of just said like, you know, like if you need me, I'm here. And she ended up telling me the truth. Apparently her boyfriend and her were having issues and stuff, and she was planning on ending it, but she just couldn't get that full push to do it. So, you know, me, you know, being a nice guy I was like, oh, well, I mean, like, do you want to like hang out or like talk about it and stuff? And for some reason she said yes right on the spot. Now I know what everyone's thinking, like, oh, you're taking a girl with like, you know, a bad relationship and trying to like take her out of it. No, that's not the case at all. I wasn't trying to take her out of the relationship. I was just trying to give her a new perspective. Actually, no. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. It did actually kind of seem like that. I can't deny the inevitable. Anyways, I remember me and her, we went to the mall. We started walking around the mall and stuff, because if you guys may know from previous stories, this mall was right beside my high school. Okay, the mall was literally right beside it. I don't know how many times I'm gonna be putting this in like stories and telling you guys like any time about like me going to the mall and stuff. Just remember, it was right beside my high school. I'm gonna say it a lot, so just get used to it. But going on though, yeah, so we went to the mall, we started talking, and we started talking about, you know, how things are going and stuff. And I remember we were like walking around to the point where she actually wanted ice cream. And of course me, I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, sure. Let's go get some ice cream. Poggers, my dude. I didn't actually say poggers. That's weird. Don't say that in front of a girl. I learned that the hard way. But no, basically we went over to the ice cream and we got some ice cream together and we sat down at the food court. And when we sat down at the food court, I recognized her boyfriend showing up at the mall on his phone. And you can already tell he was on Snap Maps looking for his girlfriend, which is kind of, well, really weird. But no, straight up, I remember he was walking around the food court and he saw me with his girlfriend and he basically walked down to us like a plane, dude. Like he was like soaring to us. Like it was scary, dude. And I'm not even joking. Like I was kind of panicking. I was like, oh crap. Like this is not going to be a good situation. So I remember me with my weird highlighter jacket. I literally stood up in front of him. I'm like, oh, like what's going on and stuff like that, you know, trying to be nice to the guy, you know, to make it seem like, you know, nothing was going on. And of course he had to make it a big scene, which I don't blame him in a way. Like to this day, I actually still don't blame him because I'm gonna be honest, it was a big deal, you know, me being in front of like, you know, him with his girlfriend without him knowing. It was kind of cheeky, I'm not gonna lie. And to this day, like I always think about that and rerun the situation in my head and I think, damn, that was a mistake. But no, like I said though, going on, he literally saw me and he was like coming up to me and he's acting all like tough. And by acting tough, I mean, I don't know why, but a lot of kids in my area, when they think of acting tough, they think about, you know, basically acting like a gang kid or acting like he's a part of a gang or something like that. It was kind of weird. And he walked up to me, he's like, oh, what you doing, bro? Huh? What you with my girl for, bro? What are you trying to do? Squat? You trying to get them down, bro? You trying to scrap down right now in the mall right now? And me, of course, speaking only proper English, it was kind of weird hearing him say that. You know, like I'll never understand how gang kids talk. Like I don't know why, but like me as a Canadian, you know, I speak proper English, or at least I try to in a way for these videos. But I guess a lot of kids back in like high school, they talk, you know, skitty beep bop ba, you know, and act like they're part of a SoundCloud rap crew and just, you know, get high all the time. I don't know, it's just depressing, dude. Like seriously, if you're one of those kids, change your life because you're not getting anywhere with it. So like I was saying though, straight up, I remember I was like doing my own thing and I was like, damn, like bro, like I'm sorry, like it's not what it looks like at all. And he straight up gets pissed. He's like, nah, dude, like you're going down like right now. And I'm not even joking. This guy, he started throwing his hands at me like crazy. He was punching me left and right and I was getting hit. I was. And I'm not gonna lie, I put my arms up to like defend my face because of course your boy wears glasses, so he doesn't want to get those ruined. Because I'm not ruining a $300 pair of like glasses. Like I'm just not. It doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, so he starts throwing punches like crazy. Me, I start kind of blocking him as best as I can. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the best at it because this was only like my second fight ever. Well, technically second. And I remember as I'm blocking him, I start freaking out. I take off my glasses and I ram him to the ground. How did I do that? I have no idea. To this day, I question how I rammed him to the ground, but apparently like my maneuver was straight up bend over. Bend over. Sorry. Yeah, I straight up bent over and rammed him up against the food court wall. And from there, I started punching his liver, which I don't know. I guess I saw in Kung Fu Panda was really, I don't know, a good way to actually hit someone down. And he started like straight up hitting me in the back of the head until eventually I just dropped on the floor. He started kicking me and then his girlfriend yelled. His girlfriend straight up yelled, stop, just stop. And right at that spot, he actually freaked out. He's like, what's wrong? Like this guy, like you're cheating on me with him. And the girl went to explain to him, I'm breaking up with you. What? You're telling me that I took a beating just for you to actually have the balls to say like, you know, break up with your boyfriend? Like, is this for real? Like I was actually like kind of pissed off and stressed at the same time. But at the same time, the back of my head was hurting like a crazy maniac because I didn't really care. And I remember like, you know, the mall security came. He asked about the situation. Me, I'm just laying there on the ground like it just hurt like crazy. Obviously cops would have to be called because everyone was saying how, you know, like he beat me in the back of the head. He got arrested. Me, I had to go home, so I went home. My parents were asking if I was okay and blah blah blah. Long story short, the girl ended up texting me the next day saying like, hey, like thanks for taking that fight for me. Bro, I didn't fight for you. He fought me because he thought I was doing something wrong. And yeah, it just kind of sucked overall how basically I took a beating for a chick. Don't get me wrong, taking a beating for a chick's never a bad thing if they're like actually Sorry, wait, I shouldn't say chick. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You shouldn't take a beating for a girl unless it's actually your girl. But I don't know, I guess long story short, tough luck. Okay, so one thing that I've noticed is that YouTube boxing has actually gotten like really big. Like, don't get me wrong, I saw the first fights of when like KSI and like Logan Paul were like such a big deal. But now seeing that KSI is officially fighting people like Tommy Temper for some reason, like really like face Temper out of all people who could box. I don't know, honestly, I think it's gone so downhill. And that leads me to the question, if I had to box someone, and I mean literally any YouTuber YouTuber, who would you think I would box? I was thinking about doing Austin Luna, or maybe I would even box Scrubs. I don't know. I'll literally box anyone. I'm gonna be brutally honest. Because, like, don't get me wrong, being in the ring is exciting for me, and I think it's pretty cool. And this story is about how I actually got into the ring one time with my high school bully. And trust me, this story does get intense, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get straight into the story. All right, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So this story starts back, actually, funny enough, I want to say in my grade 11 year. Now, in grade 11, I was already really known throughout the school for being with a lot of different girls and stuff, and don't get me wrong, I was like a major player and always doing the Devil's Tango. But one thing I never realized as I was doing all these things is that a lot of guys would envy me. And by envy, I mean be jealous of me. Now, at first, I didn't really care why, nor did I really want to bother, because either way, I still had the boys that were like my close friends that understood me and well enough to know that I'm not that kind of person to really care for the girls I've been with. But for some reason, there was one guy in my school who would always pick on me. But not only pick on me, but pick on a lot of different other people. Now, don't get me wrong, this guy in no way was he like charming or was he attractive or nothing like that whatsoever. But one thing I can say was that a lot of women would turn him down, and a lot of the women that turned him down have actually done the Devil's Tango with me. Anyways, I remember one day I was sitting in the cafeteria, just kind of chilling, being on my own, and I was just kind of just writing a paper that I had to do for English class. And out of nowhere, the guy was literally coming into the cafeteria, the bully that, well, no one really liked. And I remember he was just kind of walking around the cafeteria, and I found it really odd. But then I remember a girl ended up running into the cafeteria and running into him saying, "Oh, hey, I got your message. You want to talk to me? Like, what's going on?" And as I was overhearing their conversation, because they were literally like right behind me, I remember this guy that like no one liked in my school literally said, "Oh, like, I was just wondering, like, do you want to like maybe like go out sometime?" As I was hearing this, I was really like kind of like weirded out, but at the same time almost kind of laughing, because I don't know, I found it funny. Just, I don't know, it was just a funny moment. Like, don't you guys laugh when like you hear something like really awkward come out of someone else's mouth? I know I do. So basically, when I heard that, I was kind of like giggling, and then out of nowhere, I remember seeing this girl. She looked at me, and then she looked back at the guy and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just like, trust me, it's not you, it's me. Like, I just don't think I'm ready for a relationship yet." And when a girl says this, I'm saying this right now, it is the most cap, most BS thing that any girl could say. Like, no joke. When a girl would say that, I'm saying this right now, the problem isn't her. It's definitely you. So to all the guys that's been told, "Oh, like, it's nothing with you, it's me." No, just know it is actually you. Like, figure out your stuff, bro. But basically, I remember hearing that, and I literally couldn't hold it anymore, and I literally got up and left the cafeteria. I didn't want to be mean and literally laugh right in front of him, so I decided to be nice and left the cafeteria and started laughing when I was going down the hallway. But as I was walking down the hallway, I remember out of nowhere, the girl that was literally just asked out came up beside me and said, "Oh, hey, Bubba, like, what are you doing?" I remember I was just walking with her, and I'm like, "Oh, nothing, you know, just chilling, just hanging out and stuff. What about you?" And me and her, we started walking together to her next class. I remember as we were walking, though, this guy ended up going through the outside cafeteria doors and entering in the school where we just walked to. And when we entered in, he literally saw me and her literally standing together and talking. Now, the girl's back was facing him, so obviously the girl didn't notice he was there. And this girl, for some reason, had the gall, and I mean the literal gall, to literally ask me out right in front of him. No joke. She was like, "Oh, like, hey, I was just wondering, like, you're really cute, and like, I'm not really doing anything this Saturday. Do you want to like maybe go out sometime?" I remember I looked at the girl and I looked at the guy behind him, which is like the bully that literally just asked her out. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be for real with you. I think I'm busy that day. You know, I'm just chilling." And then this guy was so infumed, like literally in flames. Like, I'm not joking. He literally looked like the character from Inside Out, the red character with like the red flames coming out of him. Yeah, he literally looked just like that. Mad at me, dude. Like, he was so mad to the point where he decided to come into our conversation, pop up behind the girl and say, "Oh, okay, I get it now. So you're gonna ask him out, but you're not gonna go out with me even though I asked you. What kind of woman are you? What does this guy have that I don't?" And right as he says that, he ends up pushing me up against the lockers. Now, at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I was in grade 11. I ain't no wuss at this time and age. So I remember I literally stood up against him. I'm like, "Hey, what do you mean? What's wrong with me, bro?" And then afterwards, we start kind of like, you know, pushing each other in the hallway. And then a teacher comes out of the classroom, says, "Hey, boys, this is not the setting for a fight. Seriously, take it to the office." So me and this dude, we end up going to the office, and, you know, we had a talking to, blah, 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 all that office stuff where the principal really never knows what's going on. And then afterwards, me and this guy, we ended up walking away and going our separate ways. Now, usually I would hope the story would end here, but sadly it didn't. Because I remember one time my buddy saw me and he was like, "Yo, bro, like, I'm taking this new boxing gym, like, course. Do you want to, like, come with me? I heard you're, like, kind of experienced in boxing." Which, since I did, like, boxing in, like, middle school, and this was, like, just for a bit, and that's a story for a different time. But, you know, boxing in middle school, I had, like, little experience, but at the same time, I was still a kid, so I never really like got back into it. I don't know. I just prefer video games instead. But when he invited me, I remember this was a good friend of mine, and I decided to try it out. So I remember in grade 11, we ended up going to this boxing gym. Now, this boxing gym was like really like run down. Like it was like one of those ones that you'd see like Rocky Balboa go into like in like the movies. It was just a basic rundown boxing gym. And I won't lie, it was pretty cool. I remember me and my buddy were just practicing sparring, and you know, we were punching the bag and doing the same old usual things that boxers usually do when they train. And then out of nowhere, I'm not joking when I say this, out of nowhere, this guy that literally was basically a bully at my school walked into the boxing gym. And when he saw me, I'm not joking when I say this, he literally drops his duffel bag that he was carrying with his boxing gloves in it and walks up to me saying, "Oh, that's good. I found you here, little bum." And he ended up pushing me on the ground. I remember I looked at him like, "Dude, you need to calm down. Like, seriously, this is not going to get you anywhere. Like, what do you want to do, huh? What are you going to do, huh?" And basically started like, you know, yelling at him somewhat in the boxing gym. And then out of nowhere, these two guys ended up coming up behind us both, like these two really big guys, like that were like really built, and kind of just started pulling us back and like basically making sure that we don't actually hurt each other with our bare knuckle fists. And then afterward, basically, we ended up getting separated apart, and the guys at the boxing gym were talking to us and saying that if you guys want to fight each other, there's only one place to fight, and that's in the ring. So I remember basically me and him, we signed it up for the ring, and basically we were going to do an actual boxing fight, like an actual boxing match. But obviously we had to schedule the ring and everything, so we ended up scheduling it for Saturday. Now, the day I went to the boxing gym was on Wednesday, and basically throughout the 2 days of me going to school and going to the boxing gym to practice for the fight, everyone in the school started finding out about it. Girls at my school started finding out, and a lot of my homies at school ended up figuring out what was going on, and basically all wanted to go. So it got to the point where I want to say over 50 people in my school, and I'm not gonna lie, I think 30 of them were actually chicks and 20 of them were guys that were good friends of mine, literally ended up showing up on Saturday to the boxing gym to watch me beat this guy. We all ended up going to the boxing gym. We ended up basically, you know, getting ready and stuff, and I started practicing on my side of the ring while he was practicing on his side of the ring. We were sparring for a bit, you know, practicing with our partners, and then afterwards we got ready and we sat down, we got ready for boxing. Now, I'm not gonna lie, we only used like, I think 6-pound gloves. We didn't use like any actual like heavyweight gloves that were like, you know, usually 10-pound gloves that most boxing people use in like the actual rings. We're using basic gloves. We had helmets on, obviously, because we were not really planning on knocking someone out. I personally like my face, you know, I like to keep my face for YouTube. And basically me and him, we ended up basically going to our sides, prepping up, talking to our guys, and then afterwards we sat down, we got ready. The announcer came on stage and basically said, "All right, in this corner we have Arash Baba Muini, and in this corner we have," well, I'm not gonna say his name because, you know, the story is about him and I don't want any legal trouble. So yeah, going on. Basically from there, the bell ended up ringing. We ended up going up against each other. We started fighting. I ended up punching him, he was punching me, you know, the basic same old that you usually see in the boxing ring. But then afterwards, this guy has the audacity, and I mean the audacity, to punch me in the back of the head. And when he punched me in the back of the head, don't get me wrong, it hurt, but it was a very not legal move, meaning that he was not allowed to punch me in the back of the head. It is like a basic boxing rule you're not allowed to do. But obviously I didn't complain about it. I just moved on from it and said, "Hey, you want to fight like that? We can do that." So basically from there, I remember this guy was a bit taller than me, by the way. I was only like 5'7" at the time, I think. And basically this guy was like, I want to say almost 6 foot. So one thing I really had to do was that since he had more of a reach on me, I ended up punching his liver a lot. And when you hit someone in the stomach that is really taller than you, it hurts a lot, especially when you hit the liver area. At least that's what you learn when you're doing basic fighting training. And then from there, basically one thing led to another. I ended up punching his liver. His face ended up going down, and that's when I uppercutted him. I no joke uppercutted the guy, and basically I remember he ended up going on the ground. He was on the ground, but I guess he didn't really understand boxing rules because he ended up staying on the ground longer than 10 seconds. At this point, I remember the bell rang and I'm like, oh my goodness, I actually just won. Everyone started freaking out. Everyone started like, you know, yelling, "Congratulations, yay." And don't get me wrong, it felt good, but as he was laying on the ground crying, I basically saw in his eyes that he was really upset when he saw the girl basically cheering for me that he asked out the other day. And at that point, I remember I basically helped him get up and I dabbed him up and said, "Bro, good fight." And then afterwards, he kind of just ended up being a good friend of mine. And to this day, we're still friends. Well, somewhat. I don't know. I don't really talk to him much anymore, but hey, what can I say? It was a good fight and I ended up getting friends out of it. So as you guys may know, it's still Pride Month. And actually, the more I think about it, I have a crazy story to tell you guys, but before I get into it, please don't cancel me. You gotta understand, this was back when, well, I guess bullying was considered good. And on top of that, honestly, this story does get really intense, so I suggest you guys leave a like and subscribe. And to all the people a part of the LGBTQ watching this video, please watch the video through before you guys make an opinion on me. But anyways, let's just jump straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back in my grade 9 year. Now, I'm not gonna lie, in grade 9, I looked like this. So obviously, I wasn't the slave player that I was supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, I still did a lot of the Devil's Tango, but not as much as I did in grade 10. Going on though, I remember in grade 9, I decided to take a course called drama. Now, drama is a course where it's basically theater, where basically you learn how to like basically act in a way. I don't know how else to explain it other than me trying to act wasn't the coolest thing to see. But the main reason why I actually took it was because I had a really bad stutter back when I was in high school. And me having a stutter back in high school wasn't a good thing because how else am I supposed to pull girls? I don't want to go all phase adapt on them. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember basically one time in drama, we were doing this like exercise where we had to read out a very long script. And me, well, with my stutter, it makes me a lot worse than how I'm actually supposed to. Like, I can read, but not that well with the stutter. So I remember I went up in front of the stage and I started basically talking. I started basically reading it out, but in some parts, I would randomly just have a stutter. And knowing this, I remember I saw some girls laughing, but then afterwards, there was one dude in my class that kept laughing at me for some reason. And he kept laughing to the point where he actually ended up saying, "Dude, like, you suck at reading." I remember when he said that, I kind of just froze and just got really awkward. I didn't know what to say and I didn't know why this dude was picking on me, like literally back off. But honestly, I guess he was just trying to get everyone's attention and be the class clown. And that's one thing I realized over the weeks of me going to class. The same guy would always, and I mean always, try to get attention from everyone. And it was so weird because he would walk in with the most weirdest outfits as if he was Lady Gaga. Like, I don't know what this dude's problem was, but in my mind, he was just being super weird and really toxic. I remember as weeks went on, we had this school play that was coming up. And obviously, the school play, everyone wants to be the main character, except me. I remember I didn't want to do it. And the play was Peter Pan, by the way, if you guys really want to know. And I remember I did not want to be Peter Pan. But obviously, don't get me wrong, a lot of people thought it would be funny for me to be Peter Pan because I was the most youthful looking. Like, I don't know, look at me and tell me if I should be Peter Pan. Like, in my opinion, I shouldn't be. And I remember my teacher ended up walking up to me in the middle of class and saying, "Oh, Bubba, I was wondering, do you want to be Peter Pan for this play? The whole class thinks it's a good idea for you to be." For me to be Peter Pan is what I told her after. "Yeah, I think you should be Peter Pan." I'm good, thanks, is what I ended up saying. And then I remember I ended up walking away and my teacher, she was disappointed. So what she decided to do next was pull the whole class together, basically making a class meeting with me standing in the middle and basically said, "Everyone, I think Bubba should be Peter Pan and I would need a raise of hands for everyone that agrees." I remember at that moment, since the teacher ended up saying something, the whole class ended up putting their hand up for me to be Peter Pan. And me, I was super embarrassed. But then obviously the one dude in my class realized that I was getting a lot of attention after the vote was done. And I remember when the vote was like basically over, all the students in my class ended up walking up to me saying how I should, prepare myself, how it's gonna be super fun. And honestly, it felt good to have a lot of attention. But honestly, when I saw this dude looking at me, I remember he walked up to me saying, "You're gonna be Peter Pan? You can't even freaking speak. You're such a loser." "Dude, what's your problem?" is what I told him afterwards. And he basically kept telling me, "What do you mean what's my problem? You're just a dumbass." "Whoa, dude, like seriously, grow up," is what I told him. But obviously he wasn't having it and he just kept messing with me. And it got to the point where he actually got physical with me and pushed me on the ground. Now at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I have anger issues. I mentioned this in my other video. I don't like getting upset really easily, but I have that issue. So I remember when I stood back up, I remember I ended up pushing this guy on the ground and he ended up saying, "For a boy, you're really weak." And that's when I ended up getting on top of him and started punching him out. I'm not joking. I started punching his face over and over and over and over. And the teacher was out of the classroom for some reason, so I just kept going at it as all these guys were just looking at me thinking that this dude is batshit crazy. But anyways, I kept punching him and then one thing led to another. I remember there was a girl in my class who was a part of the LGBTQ club. She walked up to me saying, "Bubba, what are you doing? You would never hurt a girl." "What?" is what I said. "A girl? Where's the girl in this situation?" And then I remember when I looked down, this guy was like, "Actually, I identify as a girl." "No, you don't," is what I said. And then afterwards, let's just say I got a lot of drama happening in my class because, well, a lot of people in the class apparently was convinced he was a girl when it was very, very obvious that it was a dude. Like, I'm sorry, okay? If you sound like a man, look like a man, and have the genes of a man, you're probably a dude. And I'm not gonna lie, once again, this was back in grade 9, so don't, cancel me for this, but that was just my thought process back when I was younger. Anyways, after the whole situation happened, I remember I started panicking and thinking, why in the world does my whole class think this person's a girl? And then that's when I realized. He ended up basically saying, actually, I am a girl. I'm a transgender. You're a what? A transgender is what he said once again. And I wasn't convinced. I remember what I ended up doing was I ended up saying, wait, so you have a vagina? Is that what you're saying? No, I don't have one of those, but that doesn't define who I am. I mean, do you have tits? Is what I ended up saying afterwards. That doesn't identify who I am, is what he said once again. And I remember me back in grade 9, well, I was really hard-headed. So I remember I ended up basically right afterwards, when he said that he didn't have either of those things, I ended up walking up to him and saying, then you're a dude. And it ended up walking away. When I said that, I remember my teacher just ended up walking back into the classroom. And right away, right as I said that, this dude that was really upset at me, claiming he was a transgender, ran up to me and punched me in the back of the head. Obviously, we both got in trouble. We ended up going back to the office. And when we went back to the office, I remember I ended up getting in trouble for basically hitting a girl. I remember my parents ended up getting a phone call, and I was like really shook because there was no way that they were going to tell my parents I hit a girl. But they ended up doing that, and my parents ended up coming to the school, and I got in serious trouble. My parents ended up walking into the office saying, Bubba, why did you hit a girl? What? You would never hit a girl. Because I live with 4 sisters. So obviously me hitting a girl was really not the case ever. I was raised not to do that. But then afterwards, I remember my dad walked in really upset and he said, Bubba, where's the girl you hit? I ended up pointing at the dude that was sitting on the chair. And then that's when both my parents looked at me and started laughing. They said, no, seriously, where's the girl you hit? Mom, Dad, that's the girl apparently, is what I said afterwards. And then one thing led to another. Basically, my principal ended up explaining what a transgender was to my parents. And my parents are really strict and religious. So you already know my parents weren't going to be convinced. And one thing led to another. My parents ended up taking me out for ice cream. Yeah, I know. I am cool enough to go out for ice cream after beating someone up. But that was basically me back in high school bringing up a transgender. You gotta understand, back then things were very different. The LGBTQ stuff wasn't really in my mind. And to be honest, I wasn't educated on it. Obviously nowadays, I guess things are different, but cancel me if you want. All I'm gonna say is this. This was back in grade 9. And I'm 22 now, so come on, like, you guys can kind of calculate what's going on here. But I mean, if you guys do have any more questions about this story or want to know more, make sure you guys join me live on Kick streaming and telling these crazy stories face to face. Now, this story is about how I fought an anime kid. And honestly, before I get into it, I just want to mention, I don't condone any fighting. Like, if you want to fight someone, go for it if you really think it's for self-defense. But if it's just for kicks and giggles, I'm sorry, there's no point. There is 0 point of harming someone. So don't harm anybody, be nice about it. But this story does get hilarious. So I suggest you guys click that subscribe button if you guys haven't already for more crazy stories. And on top of that, if you guys haven't followed me on Twitch yet, I highly advise it because I am live right now as we speak. So if you guys want to talk to me live, go for it. Honestly, heavily worth it. And like I always say, let's just get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story takes place back in high school. So back in high school, there was a theater club. And in theater club, I'm not gonna lie, like, there was a lot of really geeky, weird kids. Like, it got to the point where I'm not gonna lie, I think everyone in theater, like, ended up doing the devil's tango with each other, and they all acted like siblings, so it was like really weird. Like, people would know each other so well to the point where like all the guys knew like how big they were, and like it was just super weird. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say there. Now, one thing I won't lie about though was that I was a theater kid, but I was never in depth like that much into theater. Like, I kind of just took the course just so I can get extra credits. Now, you guys are probably wondering, okay, when does the anime kid show up? And I'll explain that. Just hold on. I remember one day my friend came up to me in theater class and he's like, yo, like, a lot of these kids are going to like an anime convention. I think it'll be fun if we like go, but not like wear any costumes though. That's weird. And I remember I looked at him like, what's the point of going to an anime convention if everyone's gonna be just weird? And then he told me, dude, the girls are so weird that they'll literally do the devil's tango with anyone there, bro. Like, trust me, you want to go, man. Like, some of these girls are wearing cat costumes and like hot nurse outfits. Now, I'm not gonna lie, back in high school, anything for action was action. Okay, either it was some love action, fighting action, or even just some weird action. Honestly, I just went for it. And going through life saying yes gets you to some pretty pretty mysterious places. Anyways, going on. I remember I looked at him and I'm like, sure, like, why not? Like, okay, let's go if you say so. So I remember the next day we ended up getting our things, getting a camera and getting everything set up, and we decided to go for this anime convention. This anime convention was downtown. So I remember I had to drive my car all the way downtown, and as I was heading there, I remember looking outside the street, just seeing so many weird kids in like these weird anime costumes, and there's like these boys with like pink hair, and like there's some girls like wearing some like really tight outfits. Like it was insane. It was everything that my friend said it would be. But then I remember as I was parking my car and everything towards the convention, I remember seeing like a group of guys, and there's like a group of Asian guys, not being racist, okay? I'm just saying they were an Asian group, okay? I think most of us in high school know like that Asian friend group with all like the smart kids. We all know what that friend group is, okay? It's not racist, it's just what it is. Anyways, I was going towards there, and I remember seeing them walk down, and they saw we weren't wearing costumes. And I remember they came up to us and they're like, what anime are you guys from? And I was just like, Batman? Pokemon? Yeah, we're Pokemon trainers. Yeah. They looked at us and laughed, and I remember like kind of being embarrassed, because let's be real here. You're going to an anime convention not wearing an anime costume. It's kind of awkward. But anyways, we got our passes. We ended up walking, and then we walked around. Obviously, my main reason for being there was seeing some hot girls. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If there's two things I knew, was that the two hottest girls on the planet are gamer girls and anime girls. For some reason, they're really hot. Like, have you guys seen Valorant chicks nowadays? Like, holy smokes. But anyways, going on. I remember I was walking around with my friend, and as we were walking around, I remember seeing this one girl. Now, this girl looked outstanding, and she was actually pretty hot. And I remember I was like, you know, just kind of like chilling near the concession stand. And I remember my friend looked at me saying, bro, like, why don't you just go walk up to her and like, just, you know, hit her up, you know, ask for a number or something. And I said, you know what? Like, whatever. Sure, I'm down. Let's go check this out. So I remember I walked down, and I actually got a chocolate bar because I didn't know what else would be good. And I gave her a bar of chocolate. I gave her a bar of chocolate saying, hey, like, how you doing? And she looked at me and she's like, ooh, hi, how are you doing? At that point, I was really weirded out that she said, ooh, but you know, it is what it is. And I remember I looked at her, I'm like, oh, you know, just kind of chilling, you know, hanging out at the anime convention. See, what animes do you watch? And then she looked at me saying, do you not recognize where I'm from? I look at her, I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry. I think she was like Sakura from like Naruto. Like, she had the pink hair, so I'm guessing like, you know, it was her. I don't know, dude. Like, there's so many girls in anime that like to the point where like I don't even realize it. Unless you're trying to recite like a hentai I watched, like I have no idea. Anyway, she looked at me and she's like, ooh, like I'm from like Naruto. And you know, the way she talked really bugged me, but I get it. You know, she was trying to be in character, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, me and her were walking around the convention, and I remember she was introducing me some people and stuff like that, showing me what animes are good, which ones are not. Actually, she's the one who got me into Naruto, funny enough, so that was pretty cool. And then I remember we ended up going towards this group of like Naruto kids, and like I love Naruto. Naruto is one of my favorite animes nowadays, but back then I didn't know much about it. All I know is that it was just a bunch of weird kids wearing headbands, just doing weird symbols with their hands, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought some of them were on like some crack or something. Like, I have no idea. I remember I walked up to them like, hey, like, what's going on, guys? One of the guys looked at me saying, dude, like, what are you supposed to like be? Like, you're not an anime? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I forgot my costume. It's in my car, I think, or something. I don't know. I was basically playing it cool because I didn't know what else to say. And then afterwards, for some reason, he kept giving me a weird look. And for some reason, this like girl that I was talking to, and the one that introduced me to all of them, started getting really close to me. Like, it got to the point where like my arm was basically around her walking around. I know, not a good look, but you know, it is what it is. And let's just say he was very upset. Like, he kept eyeballing me. He kept getting all pissed off and stuff. Like, I don't know what it was. Anyways, going on though, I remember we walked around. We ended up going to this like noodle place. Like, I don't know. They wanted to like eat this thing called pho. I don't know what it is, but like, who calls a soup pho? Like, why is it pho of all things? Like, is it like photon? I don't know. Anyways, going on. We were like eating at the place, and I remember I was sitting down beside the girl, and basically I remember I had to go to the bathroom. So I got up, I was going to the bathroom, and then this girl started following behind me for some reason. And when she was following behind me, as I'm about to enter the bathroom, towards beside me, I realized that the guy that like did not like me at all walked into me, and he had like a bowl of pho in his hand, and pho was like really hot, and he spilt it all on himself. And I remember he was so pissed off. Like, he looked at me like with anger, and then out of nowhere he like was like all like raging and stuff. He put the bowl on the table, and he's like, do you know what you did to my anime costume? Like, oh my goodness, like, bro, you're like blind. In my head, I'm thinking, why is he talking like that? What is he on? And he just started getting more upset and stuff like that. And I remember the girl that was with me, and for some reason was behind me when I was heading towards the bathroom, looks towards the guy and says, well, like, don't worry about it. Like, don't be mad, Sasuke. In my head, I'm thinking, why are you calling him Sasuke? I thought his name was Tim. Like, I don't know. I was just super confused. And then he gets all enraged and stuff. And for some reason, he does like this battle cry. And then right when he does this battle cry, I remember like the store owner is like, oh, like, you guys gotta leave the store. Like, you guys can't be doing this right here and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, dude, like, I'll leave. Like, whatever. I won't pay for the food. So I left not paying for the food. And I remember as I was outside, outside just going back to towards the convention, this kid grabs me by the shoulder, turns me around, and starts yelling at me. He's like, do you know what you have done to me? And like he started doing these like weird symbols with his hands. Like I thought he was gonna cast like some kind of voodoo spell on me. And I'm like, dude, you can move your hands as much as you want. I'm not gonna fight you. And then he puts his like legs spread and he's like, you know, using his like symbols with his hands. Like I thought he knew karate. Honestly, I thought this was like a weird ninja karate thing that he was doing. But then apparently like all the guys he was with was like freaking out like at all the symbols he was pulling. And I remember as a joke, I ended up doing one symbol and I just flipped him off with the bird because I don't know what symbols are. Like, okay, now I do actually because like, you know, hell, I watch Naruto nowadays. But I'm talking about like back then, I didn't know what they were. So I just flipped the bird on him. And he was all upset and he just decided to like Naruto run into my stomach. Like full on, he just battle cried going, and he just ran into my stomach. Like, bro, are you serious? And then I remember I literally stood up and I'm like, you gotta be freaking joking. Like I swore and I was pissed off. And I remember I ended up grabbing him by like this black coat he was wearing. It had like a weird like cloud in the middle that was red. And I straight up just threw him on the ground and I just started punching him. And then all his friends were like, that's not fair. He's not fighting anime style. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then his friends just started coming towards me, pulling me off. And then eventually a cop came around. And like knowing a cop was at the convention was like super weird. Like, I'm sorry, what's the worst that this anime kid can do? Like, seriously. And he pulls me off and then I get arrested and I had to go home. And my friend drove my car home afterwards because he had my keys anyway. And I remember when I got home, I told him, dude, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. But honestly, this does have a good ending though. I remember afterwards, the next day, I went on my Instagram and I realized that the hot like anime chick followed me and she gave me her real name and stuff. And she actually ended up wanting to go out, but clearly I just didn't want to. Because after that, I'm gonna be honest, I lost interest when she said, now me, I'm never usually overconfident about things, but sometimes you just gotta be. And if you guys are reading the title of this video, yes, this actually happened. But let me explain. Actually, before I do explain the story time, let me just say one thing. If you guys haven't clicked a like and subscribed to the channel already, you guys are seriously missing out. And on top of that, if you guys haven't already, did I mention that I am currently live on Twitch streaming right now, live in front of everyone? So if you guys do want to watch me live telling more of these amazing stories, then go ahead and click the link in the description down below. But other than that, let's get into this crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So this story takes place back when I was in high school. Funny enough, this was my grade 10 year, and I remember I was still a small, scrawny kid. And by scrawny, I mean I didn't really hit the gym, and to be honest, nor did I ever care to. Now, soon in the next episode of Survival Guide, I'll be talking about what you should be getting into at school, and one of the things I wanted to get into was, well, sports. Sports is something iconic in high school that most people play. Like, comment down below if you guys played a sport in school. But for me, one of the main sports I wanted to get into was, well, rugby. Yeah, long story short, that never really ended up going through properly because I did injure my leg. But, you know, going on from that, though, I remember before I got into getting into rugby, I remember I wanted to get into a sport that was, well, at least really cool, or at least well known in a sense. So I remember I went up to my friends in my drama class, and there was one guy in my drama class who was taking a special sport, and this sport was boxing. Now me, I'm no boxer. I know boxing has become a big trend, especially, you know, YouTube boxing. Actually, I have a question for you guys. Comment down below who you think I should box on YouTube boxing. I don't know. I think I could actually, I might win something. Maybe. I'd probably not. But going on, I remember boxing became a really big deal, and a lot of my friends actually started getting into boxing. Me, on the other hand, well, I mean, I could give a good punch, but I never got really into it. So I remember as me and all my friends were talking about taking boxing classes and actually signing up, I remember there was a girl who walked into our group midway through a conversation and she started talking to us. Funny enough, this girl was a boxer, and I believed that she was a good boxer because, well, her arms were really muscular and, well, they were almost thicker than mine. Okay, like that says something there. Going on though, I remember this girl was explaining to our whole friend group how boxing is not an easy sport, how you have to be able to take a hit and basically one way or another be ready to be attacked. Now me, I've been in many fights. If you guys don't know, I've had my first fight posted on here, which you guys loved and supported and gave up to 2 million views on, and another story where I fought an anime kid at an anime convention. Yeah, not going to one of those anytime soon. But this one specific time, I remember she was explaining how we needed to take a hit and stuff, and me, I, well, felt like I could take a hit. I'm not gonna lie, me getting hit in any way, I got used to. I adapted to getting a fist to the face. Not that I'm saying like I practice getting hit in the face, but you know, I know what I'm doing. I know that feeling. I know that sense. So I remember that day after school, me and all my friends, and even this girl decided to come with us and show us her boxing gym. And my thought was when we first went there was like, oh, it's gonna be like filled with a bunch of girls, and you know, she's gonna show us around. When we got there were more guys than girls, and all of them were punching bags like no tomorrow. I swear, I think you might have like need an anger issue to actually be a good boxer, because holy cow, these guys looked angry all the time. But I remember me, I had a lot of things to take off my chest anyway. So I remember I went up to the front counter and started signing up. But as I went to the front counter, I saw this one girl, and this girl looked phenomenal. And she wasn't a boxer. She only worked there because her dad was always going to that gym. So I remember me, as I was signing up, I started talking to her and stuff, and she told me this really funny joke saying, oh, you actually like gonna box? Like, oh my goodness, like I don't even think you can handle it. Are you sure? Whatever that meant. I remember I told her I've been in a couple of fights at school and stuff, and she just kind of laughed and said, so you're fighting like people that don't know how to fight? Yeah, I mean, she wasn't wrong. I was fighting people that really did not know what they were doing. And sorry to all you gang kids out there, but you guys aren't fighters. You guys are just kids. And me being a kid at that time, actually being hurt by what she said, well, I decided to actually say, screw it, and signed up. I signed up, and I remember she was kind of like giving me a tour around the gym because she wanted to show me herself. And as she was showing me around, she ended up showing me one person in the gym that was massive. Like if I could explain how big this guy was, like picture like 5 pounds of steak put into one arm. Like it's actually crazy how big his arms were. So I remember I was looking at him, I'm like, oh, like, you know, he's not that big. Me trying to sound like, you know, somewhat decent of myself. And she started talking about how he's been training for years, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he always needs a sparring opponent. Me, I don't know anything about sparring. I mean, I've seen it here and there on the internet and stuff, but I didn't know what I was doing. But me, just to impress her, I remember I was like, oh, you know, I could definitely be a sparring opponent. Like I could spar, like, you know, how hard is to spar? Isn't it like the same name as that Pokemon Sparrow? Yeah, I could do it. She looks at me and starts laughing. And she's like, you don't understand. Like all his sparring opponents like literally got hurt. Like they could not handle how hard he hits. And then me, I look at her and I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, I could take a punch or two. You know, I'm pretty good at what I was doing. After that, the girl looks over at her person that she was seeing. They weren't dating once again, but, you know, looks over at that person and says, hey, like, get over here. As he walks over, all I hear is boom, 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 boom. And this big dude looks over at me. He's like, hey, what's going on? As he puts his arm around the girl. And me, I said, oh, like, you know, I'm very experienced in like taking pain and stuff. I have a really high pain tolerance. So, you know, me and you know, we can spar if you want, bro. And then this girl is all like, oh, by the way, it's his first day here, so be easy on him. The guy looks over at me and he looks over at his girl and he's like, what? I'm so confused. One thing I can definitely say is that he had more bronze over brains. Does that make sense? Yeah, he was more broad and strong than actually had brain cells. But I mean, fair enough. Guy can hit. Anyways, afterwards, this guy goes back to training, and then me and this girl, we start walking around the gym more and more. And I remember I told her, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start training. And me, I decided to train somewhat near the front counter so she can see my skills. Yeah, I wasn't showing much, but let's just say I was punching the bag pretty good. Okay, like I kind of got the gist down. And now this is where things actually get worse. So the next day, I remember I went to school, and when I went to school, I went back to hanging out with my friend group. We were all talking about what we did in the boxing gym, you know, what was going on. And then the girl that originally told us about the boxing gym came back up to us. She came up to us and said, hey, like, Bubba, like that girl, like you were talking to yesterday that showed you around, she actually thinks you're somewhat cute. When she told me that, I got a confidence boost. I'm not gonna lie, I had major confidence boosts, and all the boys in the group were like, oh, he likes you, she likes you. And me, I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. But before we could fully celebrate, I remember the girl was like, yeah, but just remember, like, she does have like a person she's talking to, so like chill out, okay? I remember I looked over at her, I'm like, I could take him. Yeah, okay, this is where things really go south. I remember when I said that, oh my goodness, it was the worst thing possible to say, and it was something I should not have said in the moment, because let's just say girls talk. And when one girl says something, well, it's gonna spread out throughout the whole girl group like it's a virus. So I remember when I went back to the gym that day for my second day, the guy walks up to me. The big alpha, scary, Andrew Tate looking man came up to me and said, yo, bro, I heard you said you could take me, man. You want to go for a fight or something, bro? I remember I looked at him like, you know, I don't think we're in the same weight class and stuff, bro. I don't think it's possible. He looks at me again. He's like, bro, who cares about weight class, bro? You say you could take me either way, man. Who do you think you are, bro? Talking all like, you know, high and mighty about himself, even though he was pretty big. I won't lie, I was probably half steroids. I can't even lie to you, bro. Like, if it doesn't look natural, it's probably not natural. But going on, I remember I told him, I'm like, dude, like, this is my second day. Let me keep training, bro. You know, trying to act like, you know, I'm on his level of things. And then he told me, nah, put this on. Passed me gloves, and he's like, let's go hit the ring. Now, this was like a boxing fight between KSI and Logan Paul. But imagine Logan Paul being like 10 times bigger than he actually is. Yeah, it was one of those. I'm not saying I'm KSI nor as jacked as KSI, but it was one of those scenarios, okay? And I remember we both got into the ring, and as we were in the ring, I remember I was looking at him, and then I remembered one thing. And the one thing I remembered was David and Goliath. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically a story in the Bible. I'm not here to preach to you guys. I'm basically here to tell you that I just remember that story because I used to go to church. Funny enough, you know what? It's kind of weird because I'm a guy who always says Devil's Tango, but I'm mentioning about church. But let's say I remembered the story David and Goliath. And me, I remember when the bell rang to start the fight, I instantly started, well, running around. I ran around the ring like an absolute horse. And I remember I was kind of like confusing him in a way. And then every time he would throw a punch, well, he would hit me, but I would like kind of like take it as much as I can. Let's just say that day I kind of discovered I did somewhat have a pain tolerance. And then I remember I decided this maneuver where boxers would punch towards the left and kind of fake it out and then punch the right. Yeah, it didn't work out. I remember he instantly recognized that I wasn't gonna actually punch him with my left arm and go for the right afterwards. And then he instantly just aimed for my head and knocked me out. Yep, I literally got punched and my face blacked out. Kind of sucked. It was absolutely terrible. And I remember I was just laying there in the ring. I don't remember really what happened next. All I remember is I woke up in like the little nurse office they have, and basically the girl that was over me was the chick that was seeing the guy in the first place, and she says, honestly, like, I get you were trying to impress me in there, but you didn't really do much, but I'll tell you this much, you have balls to actually face him. And it walks away with the guy. Yeah, all I'm saying this story is don't get into something you're not good at, and don't talk too much, because let's just say it could lead to dangerous places.